Welcome to Transcending Dogma, Episode 1. My name is Joe Covell, and I am your moderator. Today, I have the privilege of being joined by James Williams, Mark Graham, and on Zoom, Renny Kalp. For the format of our podcast, I will be the one asking a question, and each of our presenters will have the floor for a set number of questions. James, before we begin, is there anything that you would like to say in regards to the project at hand?
Well, transcending dogma is an idea that arose out of the concept that for eons, for many, many years, human consciousness has just been dominated by dogma, especially traditional religious thought, teachings, and rituals. And a lot of times that has interfered with the spiritual progress of humanity. And in order to get beyond that, I believe it's necessary to transcend dogma, to get beyond some of the previous religious indoctrinations, rituals, and teachings that has held humanity in restraints.
Mark, is there anything you'd like to start our podcast with?
No, I'm very excited to be here and to be allowed to speak with everyone. You've introduced an idea into our discussion that you've listed as unity consciousness. And I'm looking forward to digging into that concept a little bit today.
Renny, is there anything you'd like to start off by saying?
No, except that I'm more spontaneous. I never know what I'm going to come up with. So I'm asking for divine intervention and guidance. That'd be about it.
The title of our first podcast is going to be The Golden Rule. My first question for you, James, is why do you think it's important to look beyond religion at this time?
I think that the restrictions of religion and the notion of spiritual superiority in religions has led to more wars than any other. I think that it has caused more death and bloodshed among humanity. I think it has also led to division and the concept of separation of the human being from deity itself. And the reason being is because the rituals and the dogmas are so rigid and strict, it seems as if the individual has to go through an intermediary to find God. But the main thing is that because of all of the diverse paths that have developed over time in religious concept, it tends to lead us away from seeking the divine within ourselves. One of the things that we are talking about using the golden rule is correcting some of the misconceptions that may be overheld in religious theory by focusing on fundamental principles such as the golden rule.
Very profoundly put, James. What, in your perspective, is a fundamental principle which demonstrates transcendence beyond simple religious concepts?
Well, as I mentioned, the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's very simple, but not necessarily easy. And I believe that the things that we know to be true resonate with inside of ourselves. If you really realize that if you treat other people like you would want to be treated, many of the errors that are made in human life may be avoided.
Can you please explain further?
Life is built on resonance, okay? Every individual has a particular frequency, you might say. And as a human being, you're aware of that. You're aware that when you come into the presence of someone, you feel comfort, you feel at ease, you feel warmth, you feel love, you feel understood. You're also aware that when you come into the presence of someone who may have malintent, you feel uncomfortable, you feel uneasy, you feel disturbed, you feel rubbed the wrong way, possibly. And a lot of this has to do with the intentions of the individual to carry out their routines or their attitudes toward other people. If you think within and try to resonate on the highest possible level, you have to begin to resonate on a level in which the individual finds harmony. And that harmony is at a level of doing good. And doing good is the foundation of the golden rule.
Okay, Renny,
Yes.
you're up, Renny. What then is the significance of the golden rule principle? Do unto others as you would have done unto you.
This brings us back to all the basics. This is the fundamental loving of yourself, the divine spark within us. Now we find out that God does live within us. And if you love yourself, you can love others. And if you want to take care of that self-love, that part of you that is God will be taken care of. You become the temple of the living God. So if you want to bring more respect into your life, love into your life, it starts with the self. And not the kind of self that's selfish. It's the kind of self that recognizes the oneness with God. You would want to not do anything harmful that would hurt that divine spark. So therefore, you learn that basic principle, whatever you want in your life, you do to others first. If I want respect, I give respect. If I want trust, I give trust. If I want love, I give love first. Doesn't say, let them do to me and then I'll return it. No, you do it first. So that becomes a very basic, fundamental, how to improve your life overall with God, with love.
How is this different from what is taught in religions and in the Bible?
Well, this came from the Sermon on the Mount when Jesus reminded us to love your neighbor as yourself and to do unto others as you'd have others do to you. He doesn't say do others. There was once a joke I heard where a little boy came home from church and his mother asked him, what did you learn today? He said, well, I learned the golden rule. You do others before they do you. So what we have to understand is that concept. This is our concept, to do to others what we want done to us. Not as they do to us, but what we want done. This would set you on your course. It would improve everything around your life. It would improve your thoughts, your words, and your deeds. Because now you've set up that vibration that James talked about that mentions the vibration of the aura of the person. You would build up an aura of high vibration, which would bring that love to you, like attracts like. So there you go.
The other thing that I would like to mention also is that the golden rule is not only found in the Bible, it's found in the world of Judaism and Hinduism, as well as Christianity and Buddhism and some other religions. This concept pervades the world, and it creates the ethical and moral behavior for citizens throughout the globe. It is not restricted to a particular religious discipline. Right.
All karma is the word consequence. It's the consequences of all your actions, words, and deeds. Everything that we do has a boomerang effect. This is the boomerang. Whatever you send out comes back. That's why if you understand the golden rule and you understand about doing unto others the way you want done to you, then you would understand that karma isn't a religion, it's a law. It's like cause and effect. I think there is a physical law that says for every action, there is a reaction. So all it is reaction. And you can build up good karma and you can build up bad karma. The bad karma would be all the bad things you have done start to return to you. I think it says all that you send into the lives of others comes back into your own. This is karma. Now, the thing about karma is it doesn't have a timeline. It doesn't have to come back fast. It can take eons. It can take a while. It can take many lifetimes. But everything that it down to the last jot and tittle, it is returned to us, good and bad. So karma is a universal law of consequence, the balance.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, we're going to move on to Mark.
Hey,
Most of us want beneficial karma. What action then is needed to produce beneficial karma?
Well, the simplest answer is doing good, thinking good, and feeling good will have a reciprocal effect coming back to you. The institutionalized way of approaching this idea is obedience to an authority. And I think that's where religion tends to fall apart, because you can only obey authority so much as you're afraid of authority or as you believe in authority. And we all know that the people and things that we believe in can fall short. But the golden rule illustrates something that comes from a connection to the divine source, which is the purest form of who we are on our inside. From there, we can realize that to harm others is really to harm ourselves. By tapping into God on a real level, you are obeying the golden rule, not because you're compelled to, but because that's the natural consequence of what it means to love others.
Wow. It seems so simple and insightful. How do we get people to understand and practice this principle?
The first thing you have to do is you have to take on the personal responsibility to delve deep into yourself and question the foundation of your own being and become aware of who you are as a spiritual being, not just a machine or an animal that's performing functions in the world. It's false to believe that you are separated from God. In that connection with God comes a consciousness of unity with all people and all living things, really. And this unity consciousness is what the intention here, what our intention is to see manifest. We want people to understand that when you look at your neighbor, you're looking at yourself in one form, and everything you do to your neighbor or with your neighbor is something you're doing to yourself or with yourself. And that includes your thoughts, that includes your feelings. And that begins with connecting to God on a personal, deep, and honest level, not just because you're doing what you're told to do or obeying somebody's order.
James, what Mark said sounds great, but where do we begin?
Well, to continue with his train of thought and with the train of thought that is true, is that to do unto others as you would have them do unto you has its root founded in self-love, like Renny said, not in a narcissistic way, but in the sense that you realize that you are part of the source and part of the divine within. And to have an understanding and appreciation of that allows you to love yourself. And you can only love others if you love yourself. And by having a foundation in self-love, you understand that the other also has the divine spark within them and are also a part of the divine creator and also has the love that is within yourself. Therefore, you love the other as yourself. And then you realize that to harm another is to harm yourself, or to do good for another is to do good for yourself. And I think one of the other things that we need to do is really acknowledge that there is no such thing as separation. We're not separated from one another as human beings, and we're not separated from deity. We are all one. So being aware of the divine source within inside of ourselves reconnects us with deity, and we come to a fundamental understanding that we are fractals of that divine being, and of fractals of that divine being, we should all respect one another, honor one another, and cherish the divine love that's present within each other. And in so doing, it's hard to be malevolent to another individual, because you realize not only the karmic aspects of it, but the fact that you are putting yourself in harm is detrimental to your own spiritual growth and development. And basically, that's the only reason we're here on earth, to understand something about our spiritual nature and how we regenerate that and reconnect with the divinity within us and the cosmic divinity that exists.
James, thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to add and inform us of at this time regarding the Golden Rule?
Well, I believe that there are some truths that are eternal and immutable, and that's one of them. And as it relates to aspects connected to karma and cause and effect, I think these principles help us avoid errors, both in the physical world and in the spiritual world. And if we can avoid errors, we make progress. And in doing so, we elevate not only our own consciousness, but the collective consciousness and the progress of humanity.
Lot to unpack here. Where can we learn more about this golden rule, karma, and the law of cause and effect?
I think one of the texts that I've liked is called The Chronicles of Manisis.
Where can we get a copy of this Manisis Chronicles?
I think the Philosophical Publishing Company is a good source. And I do believe we have the curator of the library and the Philosophical Publishing Company here with us.
My name is Miriam Galas, and I represent the Philosophical Publishing Company. This is an over 100 years old bookstore and publishing company. We are in the building that we are using since 1948 in Clymer Road in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. We offer you all kind of spiritual books, both in English and Spanish. We also have health books and some children-oriented literature. So you are more than welcome to call for questions or visit our website, philosophicalpublishing.org. Now I am showing you the book Manisis Chronicles. This is a book written by Dr. Gerald Postdecker under the pseudonym of Eugene Brewington. It's a book that explains the divine law in a very interesting and entertaining way, very easy to read, very easy to understand, and goes through many different laws that govern the universe in a novel form. It reaches all kind of public. Again, any questions, just feel free to contact us. Thank you.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for our very first pilot podcast of Transcending Dogma. Thanks so much again, James, for attending. Mark and Renny, take care. And until next time, keep searching for that light.